I guess we're live. Second episode of Technically Speaking, the show where we talk about all things technical sales with opinions and conversations with experts and members of the field. Co-hosting with me this episode today is my wonderful co-host, Sydney, finance
Hi,
partner at
guys.
Accuracy. And I'm Hassan, the sponsorship partner for this year. And I have the honor of being joined by Mr. Erik Laflamme today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, guys. And I know honor, maybe it's a little much, but I'm excited.
No, thank you for being here, man. So just for all the viewers and listeners here, tell us a bit about yourself first. Like who you are, what you do, when you graduated from McGill, what you did at McGill, etc.
For sure. You guys will tell me if you want more or less anything, but I graduated from mechanical engineering this year, 2020 in May. And bit about me, I guess I'm a big outdoors guy. I love kayaking, I love hiking, and that fits pretty well with COVID. So
Yeah.
That's been a saving grace. Now winter's coming. I love cross country skiing, that type of thing. So
Have you ever
I'm pretty
gone
pumped
winter hiking?
next week I have a week off and I'm gonna go hiking. So
Interesting.
I don't know
Okay.
if that counts as winter because I don't think there's snow, but I'm not
Cold
against it.
hiking.
Yeah,
By,
cold
by
hiking.
winter hiking, do you mean in the snow, Sid?
Yeah, so I have a couple friends that have gone winter hiking and they get like these snow boots that have picks at the bottom and everything, and they hike in the cold, in the winter, in the snow and everything.
That
I
must
would
be sick.
I would not like to try that.
Me neither. But yeah, it seems pretty cool. So yeah, outdoors person, Eric?
Yep, yep. Um, and then I don't know what other things you wanted to know, like what other aspects.
No,
So,
like,
sorry, go
sorry.
ahead.
I'm just saying, so where you work, what position you're in.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. So I'm working as a sales engineer at Trane, spelt Trane, not like not choo choo train, but and what they do is they sell HVAC equipment, and actually they're the number one, I believe, manufacturer of HVAC equipment in the world. So pretty big company, and they need people to sell their stuff. So that's what I'm there doing. And the people they need to sell their stuff is people who actually understand the systems, and that is often engineers. It doesn't have to be engineers. There's people who aren't engineers who are selling stuff there, but you definitely need to know some engineering concepts. So they often pick out mechanical engineers, but if you can do an engineering degree, you can figure out HVAC systems.
Sure. I heard that because I'm very familiar with Trane. I know
Oh
that
yeah.
Sydney used to intern there as well, so
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of good things about it. But I know that in sales engineering in general, there's like for a sales engineer, there's different branches that you can get into. Like there's like the petroleum business, the pulp and paper business. Are you into one branch in particular, or is it like you can do like anything in sales engineering?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. Uh, you know, I'm kind of new to this, so I'm gonna give it my best answer. So take it with a grain of salt. But the way I see it, everything you have in your life or you see in your life, someone sold it. If it's in a store, if it's in a building, someone went out and sold it. And when you get to technical things, like pulp and paper equipment, like valves, like HVAC systems, like so many things, Caterpillar machines, who sells it? Engineers sell it. So every single industry has salespeople, and it just depends whether you're aligned. Like TI came to McGill when I was there, and they're hiring engineers, but they're looking to hire electrical engineers to sell their stuff. So um, yeah, I started in the HVAC industry, and they've trained me. So far, they've been doing a lot of training in sales, but also on the products. So if I were to, if a career change were to happen in the future, obviously there's other doors in other industries, but there's some knowledge that you build up while you're here that is more useful if you stay within the industry, and it doesn't necessarily transport to another industry that you go to.
So kind of on that topic of like you ended up choosing Trane and went about like HVAC sales engineering.
Mm.
Is there a particular reason why that was decided? Is it because of your mechanical engineering background, or like you said, like TI was looking for electrical engineers, or is there some like a reason why you chose Trane specifically?
Yeah, there definitely is. For me, the way I see it, and a lot of engineering is, and you guys probably feel maybe the same or different, is just straight up boring. And HVAC is boring. It can be if you don't know much about it, right? And so I wasn't looking for an exciting company. You know, a lot of people talk about aerospace, they talk about the car industry, and I really didn't want to go into that because I know that sexy industries often treat their workers poorly. Uh, and that's not what I'm looking to get out of a career. I'm not looking to be able to go to a party and say, "Hey, this is the company I work for. Aren't you impressed?" No, I'm looking for a company that has, invest in people, that has a good culture, uh, and that kind of has values that align with what I'm looking to get out of my career. And I'm not speaking for Trane, right? I'm just here speaking as me. But I came to this place and I came to Trane, and right away they send you to 6 months of training, and it costs them a lot of money to do that. And it's the number one training program in the industry, and they tell you 2 years out, the other companies are going to come and they're going to try and poach you because everybody in the industry knows about this training program. And then it's reinforced by so many of the things that they go do, and people here, you talk to them, they're having a good time, they're here to help each other. And that's really a big thing in my career. I believe people are number one, and I really believe that we under invest in our people, and that's really is what the success of companies is. And to see a company value that's rare. I worked in companies that did not treated people as commodities, or they let the system kind of crush those people. And I wasn't seeing that here. So I'm like, whoa, these people are 10 years in, 20 years in. I have people come in to teach us. It's their 50th year at Trane. And that's not like rare, So to see that and to see the investment in these people, that's what I was looking for. Not the industry, not the product, not nothing. I'll learn the product, I'll learn the industry, but if you make friends within the people within the group, if you have your bosses investing in you, if you like your coworkers, that's what I was looking for. So
Looks like a pretty big move you made.
Well, I'm 6 months in, I'm really happy with it. And I talk to people who are 5 years in, 10 years in, 15 years in, 20 years in, and they're happy with it. So I'm hoping to be just as happy in those times too.
Glad to hear that, my man. But so the transition for you from university to the workplace, so it must have been really smooth for you in that case, or was it a bit shaky?
So I'm a bit of a routine guy. So I like routines, and university kind of threw me off a little bit. I know most people are not routine people, so I kind of like the steady pace that it's in. But quite honestly, I think the difference is going to show up more in the next year, in the next 2 years. You guys, hopefully you won't be still doing this podcast, so I'll pass it on to the next generation of McGill people. But if they do redo the podcast, I'd have more to say on that, because honestly, right now with the training program that I'm in, there's a lot of parallels with school. So it's not like it doesn't feel that different as the way it felt, but it feels more important. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes when you're in class,
you're actually learning information now that's going to be relevant to your job. You're not just doing some derivatives, some integrals. You're actually learning something that matters. So you also take it more seriously. If maybe I'm saying that wrong, but I think probably you'd agree.
I agree 100%, Sydney.
So how are you finding, you're saying you're doing the training program now, like having intern there? I know that usually it's in person, you go out to the United States, you're all together. So how are you finding like the pandemic in terms of the training program? Like how has it affected it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're all living post COVID-19, right? And to be honest, there's a lot of people who are looking at it and they're like, hey, this program is better in person, and the connections you make, like there's people here, no joke, the people here who go to the training program at the same time, they're from all over North America and lots of time abroad. And they become each other's best men at their weddings. Like the bonds are made, they're tight. And so, we're friends with people there, but is it that tight? No. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to invite these people to my wedding, but if there's a place to be during COVID-19, this is it, because they are in it. The instructors are there to teach you. I'm learning a ton. They're adapting super well. So if there's a time I'm going to choose, hey, I'm going to have to go through COVID-19. Where do I want to be? And learning and acquiring the tools and the skills to continue my career, that's a pretty sweet place to be, in my opinion. So,
How long is the training program, by the way, if you don't mind me asking?
yeah, no, it's like 5 months. It's about to end. I'm mostly done. In a month, I'll be back in the office. So
So do
yeah.
you go in person though? Sorry to interrupt, by the way.
No worries. This is Zoom, man. If we don't interrupt each other, we're not talking anymore. Yeah, go in person where? Sorry.
Like when you, because when people, like when your instructors go and teach you and everything, when you go to classes for your training program, is it like an in-person thing, or do you guys are you're all on Zoom?
Yeah, so normally it's in person. It's in La Crosse, Wisconsin, but this is the background they've been seeing the whole time. I've been doing it from here. This is my work laptop. This is my workstation, and they do it from their homes too, mostly. So, yeah.
Nice. I know there was talks of maybe going for a 2-week period there. Is that off the table?
So, that is off the table, but it's crazy. It's a Midwest company, and these people care so much about people. Like, it's kind of shocking. I don't know if, like you meet someone who's high up at the company and they ask you your name, what office you're going to, like, oh, I know this person, I know that person. And they just people come and they spend so much time talking to people, and like people are so important to them. I can't believe it, but so much so that they're going to pay for us to come down. Like once this is all over a class, like they want us to bond. So they're going to come pay for us to go down there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks and have that experience once the vaccine rolls out and all that stuff.
Nice.
Hopefully soon. Hopefully that vaccine rolls out.
Yeah, the call coming out. Pfizer, Moderna.
Let's hope. Let's hope.
And how about you guys? It's about me, I guess, but how have you guys been dealing with it? Are you happy you're in school? You wish you were done earlier and you would be in the workforce? How do you guys find it?
I'll let you start.
No, personally, yeah, I do miss going, like seeing my friends in person, going to classes, it's just going to class and seeing your professors just feels like a more authentic experience. I don't know if you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
But there's an upside to this whole pandemic. You're like, when you're at home, I just feel like I save so much time. Even though I live next to campus, but still, it's still like, I don't know, it just be like getting dressed and getting ready and going and coming back and all that. Like that time I save, I get to like have to myself at the end of the day, which is not something I used to have a lot as an engineering student.
Yeah,
And
I definitely agree with that. Yeah, no, I agree with that for sure. I actually live like pretty far from campus, usually like at least an hour and an hour back every day. So it's about 10 hours of my week that I now have. So that part's kind of nice, but I find that 10 hours that I've gained in, like, I guess, transport, I've kind of been added with schoolwork. So,
oh, really?
yeah,
they laid it on that thick.
They really laid it on thick. I don't know if it's just me experiencing this. I don't know, but I just find the adjustment's been a bit difficult rather. So hopefully the winter semester is better, because I guess everyone will actually like have a better, I guess, like understanding of it. I had a bunch of teachers be like, "Oh, I didn't really realize that would take long," and I'm like, "Huh? How didn't you realize that?"
I spent 10 hours. That was the longest assignment all semester.
Yeah, so I think that the winter will go a bit better, but I mean, you're lucky that you had this program that you're doing, because I think starting out at a new company during a pandemic is kind of hard, because don't really get to build the relationships with people like you would in person. So I guess I'm kind of glad I'm in school still.
Yeah. And what you're saying, Sydney, is so true. You know, I've been talking to some of my buddies who did graduate, and you know, some of them got their offers pulled, and the other ones are coming in the office, but then you know they can't go to the office; they're working from home. So how do you make those personal connections? You know, you need people to kind of take you under the wing, a bit of mentorship at the beginning of anyone's career, and they're just not able to get that right now. So I'm thankful that's, you know, you got to be grateful for when you have what you have, you know, and I'm seeing those guys and they're struggling, and, you know, we're going to get through this, but like you're saying, school's a pretty good place to be during this whole thing.
Yeah. Just quickly on the topic of mentorship, given the situation we're in, like how did you find a mentor uh, at Train?
Yeah, well, I mean, train when you're at this training program, they assign you one of the instructors as a mentor, which is fantastic. But also at the company, there's one guy I already knew. His name's, well, you know him, Sydney, but Hugo Saint-Amand, who gets assigned to be your mentor. Also, there's an office mentor and there's a GTP mentor. And then once you get back to the office, you get paired with people and you kind of do a bit of job shadowing for a while. So that's a way, but then also, you know, how do you get mentors that aren't assigned to you? That's a tough question, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm not there yet, but you know what it is, and you know, I've tried to pass on knowledge. I don't know if you guys have tried to do that before, but pass on knowledge that you acquired, and you find that people are not so interested, even if it's good stuff. You know, I know that at McGill, they tried to do a first year mentorship program where they paired fourth years and first years, and the problem is you get a ton of fourth years sign up because they're like, hey, I want to help somebody out. You know, I feel like I learned a lot. I would have benefited from all this information. And the first years, they're too busy trying to figure it out. They don't even realize what they're giving up by not signing up for this. And so if you show up and you're social and you're not just trying to suck all for you, but you're also showing enthusiasm, you're showing appreciation, I've found that people want to mentor you. You know what I'm saying? And you don't ask them to do your work for you or like, you know, that type of thing, but you take their nuggets of advice, you run off, you do it, and you, hey, you know, thank you so much. You told me to do this. It worked out exactly like you said. Thank you so much. And then they're like, oh yeah. And then they're gonna try to help you more and more and more, you know? So that's the way I view it. I can't say, you know, here's my 1 million mentors that I have that I've
Yeah.
met with, but yeah, it's my 2 cents. How about you guys? How do you guys see that? Have you had a lot of mentors in your lives? Have you done mentorship? Or
I really wish I did mentorship, honestly, for first years,
mm,
because I know when I first arrived here, it was a big struggle for me. You know,
mm,
I never lived in Montreal. Like, I
mm,
visited Montreal a few times, but I've never lived in it. I haven't seen the snow before, like lived in a snow city, you
mm,
know? So I don't know. I guess I missed the deadline for signups, but
mm,
I now that I think about it, and now that you mention it, of course, I really wish I did volunteer to help someone because I could have used all those tips. And you're
mm,
absolutely right. I completely agree with what you're saying.
mm,
Is that you're so busy trying to figure it out, you have no idea what you're missing out on,
mm,
and you'll notice that, like, whether it's work and you're gonna experience it for sure, and I'm sure you experience it as a student, is that time flies.
mm.
Time flies and it passes by, and yeah. But in terms of mentorship, I can't think of something right off my head. Sydney, do you have any experiences with mentorship?
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily direct mentorship or mentorship programs. I was a frosh leader throughout all of university so far.
Nice.
So I feel like even though that's just like a 4-day event, um, I honestly try and give the best advice possible. Uh, like, I don't know, I just realized in my first year, I actually had really good frosh leaders, one of which was in electrical engineering, which is what I'm studying, and he was so helpful. And the program actually switched. They switched the engineering program a bit, so I ended up having classes with him in my first year. So he was so helpful. He would like help me out with my other classes because he'd obviously taken them already. So I honestly, that was my position, I just tried to do the exact same. Uh, if people needed notes and I already took the course, I would just send them my notes. If they needed help, I would try and explain them stuff. And it's kind of cool because some of them, that bond continued afterwards. So, um, yeah, like even now I'll be like, hey guys, like, if you need something or, uh, so I think it's kind of cool to have that bond. In terms of personal mentors, uh, like you, Eric, I worked at Trane this summer. Well, you're working there, but I just interned there this summer, and they provide you with a mentor who follows you throughout the whole summer and gives you advice, checks up on you. Um, so yeah, it was a really great company for that. Like I find that they did that really well, and you don't feel lost. You're not like, oh, where do I look for advice? Like there's someone there for you, which is kind of cool.
You feel the pressure though, Sid. Like when you have a mentor that's always trying to.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my God.
Okay.
And I was with He-Man, right? We had the same
Yeah.
mentor. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, this guy's so like he's on top of
And
his
he's
stuff.
serious. And that guy
Yeah.
is serious.
But it was good. It made
It's the
me
high expectation.
be serious, and it made me like be on top of my stuff too, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there is that added pressure, you're right, because let's say you take a day off, like someone's there to be like, hey, what'd you do yesterday? And you're like, nothing, So yeah.
I'd be scared to take a day off if I was in your shoes.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
didn't take a day off, but I'm just saying.
Hello, I just want to report something.
Just close all
Time
my
theft.
all my Microsoft Teams is like muted the whole day. Imagine. No,
You wouldn't be the first, I'm sure.
I didn't. Don't worry. If anyone from Train's ever watching, I promise I didn't do that.
Yeah, let me ask you, Sydney, what I find is as a mentee, sometimes I feel like, oh my God, I'm taking so much energy and like it's all about me. But then when I'm on the flip side and I'm helping someone else out, I feel so good. And I don't know if you feel that about your froshies too, when you can pass something off and it like helps them and it costs you barely anything and you see it impact them, like what's better than that, And so do you feel that too, or?
Yeah, I've actually noticed that a lot with you, even kind of how you're directing the questions back at us too. It's kind of that trait that you have, the to help others, but you also want to listen. So it's kind of cool how you're
I
doing it
appreciate
right
that.
now. But yeah, no, it's honestly the best feeling you can get, right? Like what's the point of getting all this knowledge just for yourself? Might as well make something out of it.
And it makes for some pretty interesting conversations for, I don't know, like a podcast or something.
Yeah, something like
that.
Eric, quick question, by the way. Before Trane, I heard you mentioned that you worked at other places, but was Trane your first ever sales engineering experience, or was you had experiences before?
Yeah, so I mean, this is my first, post-university experience. I had a sales internship, so I had 3 internships, and I had a sales internship actually in my first year. And
wow, you had an internship in your first year?
Yeah,
Good
I
for
did.
you.
Yeah, and it was actually incredible. They really did. They took me in and showed me a few things, and I really learned a lot there. And people that the day just goes by so quick. This is why I went in sales. Okay, when I did my other jobs, and there's so many reasons I went in sales actually, but this is one of them. Is that when I do other jobs, I look at the clock and I say, oh my God, it's only 11 o'clock. I have 6 hours left. When I am in sales, I look at the clock and say, oh my God, it's 11 o'clock. I've already been here for 3 hours. I better get my ass in gear. Like I need to get stuff done. Like go. And every time I look at the clock, it passes too quick. And I never see the time go by every single day. And I look at other people and they're the same way. And I'm like, hey, these guys are having a good time. And the day goes by so fast. I went to work for other places and people were watching the clock like crazy. And it didn't seem, they were living for the weekend on my other internships. And I didn't want that. So.
But for your first year internship, I'm really curious about this because I think about myself in first year, right? As a chemical engineering student first year. All I could do was heat and mass balances. What like I really want to know like how is interning in your first year? I'm actually curious.
And how did you find it
And how did you
to add
find
on?
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. So, uh, how did I find it? So I was freaking out because I really wanted an internship, and I didn't want to go back to my summer job, and so I was thinking a lot about it. And actually, it was a company that my dad used to work for, and he knew some of the people there still, and they kind of, like, oh, hey, you're looking for an internship. They interviewed me. They thought I was doing good. So that first opportunity is always the hardest, and
Yeah.
um, I know for people that's the biggest struggle. And you know, Hassan, like, what are the connections you have in Montreal? I don't know, but doing these clubs and stuff like that, like international students, I know that they get involved and they can find stuff that way. But for your first one, you kind of need a personal connection for them to just give you a seat at the table. And then if you don't show up, they're not going to give you the job, obviously. But if you do show up and you just like, hey, like, because here's the way I see it. I didn't learn anything in year 2, 3, or 4 in mechanical engineering that would help me in that first job. It didn't make a difference. That's not what they needed me for, right?
It's fair, yeah.
And even in this job here, it is helping because I need to know the technical knowledge, but there's so much we did in university that is zero applicable. And for an intern, they're not going to invest in, they want you to do lower level tasks, and you could do it before university. That was my experience. So you don't need to be a third year. Like,
you're making me feel very motivated to start working and get on the field.
As soon as this podcast ends, he's gonna go on My Future McGill. Look up.
I lived on My Future McGill for a few months trying to find my internship.
Yeah. So, kind of on the note, you were saying at the beginning, you were like, this is one reason why I chose sales engineering. Actually, there's a lot, but here's the one.
Yeah.
So what made you pick sales engineering versus other areas within engineering? Like, what made you actually go towards that?
Yeah, for sure. So, you guys know that at McGill, there's different types of engineers, right? There's the person who has the 3D printer at home and they're doing extra projects on the side. That was not me. There's people who are destined for masters. There's people who are destined for PhD. And there's all sorts of social people in there, but there's also people who are not so social in there. And there's also a lot of engineering jobs where all you do is CAD all day. There's a ton of that. There's a lot of engineers that CAD day in, day out. And for me, I cannot have a job where I do not interact with people. What drives me? Helping people. What does a sales engineer do? They interact with people and they help them. That's what they keep telling us in this job. And one of the reasons I'm so happy is that, look, you're selling a product, right? So 100% you have your own interest involved, but this is a career, not a transaction. And so if you come and you have the product knowledge and you can help them and show up and be like, I think you could do it this way, it would be better, or, all these things. And you come and you it's jargon, but add value in a way, where, it's not just your commission dollars. This job is going to go better because you're on the job. And you have someone who doesn't know what to do. And you say, hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? I can help you with that, and your job is to help people. And they come back to you, and they always, when they have a project, the first person they call is, last time I called Erik, it went so well. He gave me all the answers. That's who I want. I want him in the room when we're deciding this. And that's how people who are successful, it's how people who are in sales, they stay in sales. It's not a transaction thing. It's not a snake oil thing. It's you're actually helping people. And so they're willing to pay the price because, they're willing to buy your product because they want your service. They want you on their team. So a career where I could just be not all interacting with people. I still, technical, bring something else to the table, doing all this stuff. It's not all, hey, how are you doing? Just chatting people up in small talk. But I need to talk to people in my day. And I don't know if you guys feel the same way, or if some people in engineering sometimes feel like, am I in the right place?
Yeah, no, honestly, I felt like that until I had my internship. I just
Mm.
didn't know what to do. I was like, why am I studying this? All of my close friends, like, they're in programs, they would be partying, and I'm like, wait, why am I studying on like a Friday night?
Yep.
So it kind of was nice to see that there was like an answer to why I was doing this program and kind of where I would fit. I don't know how you feel about that, Hassan.
Uh, for me, I was kind of lost mainly in my first year.
Mm.
First year for me was the toughest. Second, the third, and especially fourth year, it gave like I can only speak for Chem Eng, obviously. I can't speak for your respective majors, but I just felt like with like it's not that it gets easier, it's just that you get better.
Mm.
And I just felt like I was enjoying it more and more. It wasn't just numbers and formulas being thrown at me. It was more of, okay, I'm using this because in real life, you need to size this. You need to know how this works. You need to know what temperature, what pressure you need to have everything in.
Mm.
Personally, I can't see myself in anything other than engineering,
Mm.
which is a good thing, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, it is.
Yeah, but it wasn't until very recently that I noticed just how, like, I've always known engineering was big. I've always known that it was so diverse, so many branches that one can go to. But when I found out from He-Man and from you, obviously, about this whole other branch of sales where you not just implement your technical knowledge, but also interact with people, just like Erik was saying, I don't know, it just brings a whole new dimension to the profession of engineering. And I don't know, it just interests me very much.
Yep. And I agree with you 100%, Hassan. And I would go. So I did that first internship, and it went super well. And then they, kind of my manager was like, "Hey, we would love to have you back next year." And then the people I was working with were like, "Do not come back here next year. You need to experience other things. That's what
Yeah.
internships are for."
That's actually advice that I got too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it worked out.
So what did you end up doing then for your other internships if it wasn't there, or like were they in sales? Were they in something else?
Yeah, so they were in, one was quality control or in manufacturing a place, and the other was, it ended up being it was more like project management and again in a manufacturing setting. There
Uh,
was a lot of CADing going on there. So
did you ever like consider those as a career, or were you more set on the sales engineering side?
I was super going to career. I was like a lost puppy at Tech Fair going around like, hey, what do you guys do? What are you offering as a career? Like, I saw the sales thing. I kind of really like it, but like, show me something else. Show me something else. Show me something else. Like, I'm not married to sales, but I just haven't found. I just keep seeing these things that I hate, or that I can't see myself doing for a long period of time. I don't get enjoyment out of it. And so I would go to these companies, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? What do the people in your roles do? And I never found a description of a role, or in my internships, I never found another position. Maybe project management is the closest thing to another role that I saw. Hey, I could see myself maybe doing that. But mostly, I saw what they were offering, and I thought, I don't think I'd last there. I think I'd get bored.
So you see yourself staying in sales for the foreseeable future then? We wouldn't consider changing things up ever. You would love sales so much you'd stay in it. You can see yourself for the rest of your life? Because I know it's a tough question. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just, I just want to know because you seem very passionate about it.
Yeah, no. And very passionate for someone. I guess I did sell stuff in my first internship, so I can't say I've never sold anything, but I haven't had, I'm very new to the sales profession, right? So again, take it with a grain of salt, but yeah, I am very passionate about it because, and you know what? I've been thinking a lot about that, Hassan. That's a really good question about where does future go, and do I want to switch, and what about management? How is that? And I've had a few leadership experiences where I'm like, whoa, this is rewarding but tough. When you're responsible for other people, it's a whole level above. So in terms of entry kind of level jobs, where am I going to go into CADing? Am I going to go into project management? All those things, I really don't see myself in there. And one of the reasons is because it's not as dynamic. And, another reason, and another thing I'm sure you guys are super interested in sales is this is the highest paying gig there is.
Yep.
Salespeople bring in the money in the company, and so they get paid the most in the company. That's just almost universally true across the board. And even I know that many companies, the sales manager actually makes less than the top performers in their team. So,
that's crazy to think.
Yeah.
It's just how the way that the sales, like how sales companies work. It's very hard to imagine. Yes, you're 100% right, Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, you think about the top performer, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Erik or Sydney, because I know you've interned at the sales company before. You're basically being compensated based on the work you put in, and it's on a commission basis, correct?
Mm-hmm. This
So
company is.
Yeah, so basically, I can see how the top performer would earn more than the manager there. Like it's crazy to think, but mathematically speaking, it could happen.
Yeah.
It's not just could happen. Systematically, a good portion of the team makes more than their manager. At least in this organization, it's the managers actually. It's very difficult to do at Trane. They have a hard time because, and the people they get there because they want another challenge in their career, and they want to give back, and they want to help other people. That's why they become managers. And universally, they take a pay cut to become manager. It's not a bad pay, but it is a pay cut. I know that's true here. I don't think it's true at every organization though.
So on that note, you were talking about how like project management and then sales were both like, I guess, your two main interests upon graduation. So, and you were saying down the line, you're not sure where you want to head into it. So would that be something that you would consider later on? You seem like someone that's very open to giving back and wanting to help. So I don't know, maybe it could be no, don't worry, that's a fine answer, but would you maybe consider like down the line going more towards like management and like project management, knowing that you would be taking that hit a bit in your salary?
It all depends. I guess the organization matters a lot. When I interviewed places, I didn't only apply to sales companies.
Yeah.
But one that aligned with what I was looking for, they're the ones who, I ultimately would end up going with. But no, I'm not closed to those possibilities. Definitely not. It's just, when will those opportunities appear? How will they happen? I'm going to have these skills. The thing is, you're so broad in engineering. You could go into business. Business people get businesses. Bell Canada comes. All the freaking consulting firms come to hire engineers. You could go into so many things, but once you choose a path, you're acquiring skills that are leading you down that path. And if you choose to change, you're going to restart. You're restarting a career. If I go 10 years in sales here and then I change to project management, I don't have that, maybe I start higher than I would have, but it's kind of like, you're kind of not restarting, but, taking a step back or downgrading to then move back up in a career. And there's always good reasons to do that. But there's so many sales positions, and engineers don't want to do sales generally. And I do, and it pays well, that I just don't see a reason why I wouldn't continue in this.
That's a good answer. Yeah,
that's kind of everywhere on there, but
no. The last sentence just summarized it all, brought it together.
I completely agree. I completely agree with what you said.
Yeah.
It's just, you were saying something that a lot of engineers don't go into sales. Is it because you think they don't like it, or because a lot of people don't know about it? I feel like it's a very undermined, underrated branch. Like I didn't know much about it, honestly, until very recently. So what's your thoughts on that?
I think you got two things at the same time going there. I think they're both true. People don't know about it, and then, but let's say with my group of friends when I was in university, I told them all. When I discovered sales engineering, I'm like, kind of a bit like you, Hassan. Like, hey guys, did I just discover the secret? Like this kind of the secret thing here. Why isn't everyone talking about this? Hey, like guys, come check this out. This is pretty sweet. Did you guys consider this? And so all my friends, I'm like, did you guys consider this? This is so cool. This is so cool. This is so cool. And for the most part, I got very mild responses. People were like, yeah, that sounds risky. Like I can't see myself being in there. A lot of them didn't believe that the salaries were higher than people who had, higher degrees, right? And so, a lot were just not for it. And then more than not for it, some of them were just like, they didn't really believe me when I was saying all these things, or it scared them. A lot of people, it scares them because they hear salesman and they think of the guy they bought a car from and they're like, I could never do that.
Yeah, I think there's maybe you agree or disagree, I don't know, but I think there can be like a negative kind of like a feeling when you think of sales or salesman. You think of like you're going to buy a t-shirt and someone's harassing you, or going to buy a car and you're like, hey, I'm just trying to look at cars. Like, so how have you found that? Like, have you found that a challenge in your internship, or is that talked about in your training program, that differentiation between sales and then sales engineering?
Yeah, well, what I will say is that a bunch of sales engineers go in and act like regular salespeople, like car salespeople, right? And me neither. I could never do that. I could never ever be in a job where I had to, screw the customer to get to line my pocket, right? And that's what a lot of people's view is. And I guess the company I'm working for, their view is never screw the customer. If you're doing something that is not in alignment of their best interests, we don't want you here, and it's because we're building a career, we're building years of trust, and it's all about trust, right? And so one thing that's surprising is everyone thinks smooth talkers do super well in sales, and I've been told I'm a bit of a smooth talker, so maybe I'm not busting that stereotype.
Oh man.
But there's a bunch of people in my program who are not like that. They're technical people. But guess what? When the technical guy comes to your office and he's not a smooth talker, but he's honest and he's open, and you tell him, can I do that? He's like, well, I'll sell you that, but that's not good for you. I'd make money, but that's a terrible decision. And they're just like, they're not, they don't have that finesse, that polish at the end of it. Customers love those people because they feel when they talk to them, they're getting the true stuff. And that's what people want. And so they kill it. They make a ton of money, these people. And no one would ever say, hey, that's a sales guy, he should go into sales. But he should go into sales. And he's making a ton of money and he loves his job. So, that's a misperception in the field. I think it's really good for us. If you're going in sales, it's good for you because it means they have to pay you more, means that they need to develop you more, means that you're a rare commodity because people are less interested in going in. But I would love to see more people go in, honestly. Like, I think more the merrier.
But yeah, I do agree with that smooth talker finish. Like it's not just in sales, it's in everything. It's like, I don't know if you've ever gone to a restaurant and you've asked like, oh, what do you recommend? And they're like, oh, I'll take this and I'll take this. Or when you go to a Starbucks and you're like, oh, it's good here. Or which is not what I do, by the way.
Okay. Now we know his dirty little secret. All his spare time, the extra time you got from classes, that's where he goes.
Starbucks.
Well, can I say Montreal's affected me in more ways than one. But yeah, it's just when someone knows how to like you just feel like you can build a quick bond with them, even if it lasts for 2 minutes. You have that little trust in them. That's how I see it. And I see that, like, do you think that someone who doesn't have that touch can succeed in the field of sales engineering?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I've seen people like that. I'm getting trained with people like that I'm like, these guys are not smooth talkers. They're detail oriented people. They're super technically strong. And guess what? I've had talks with some of my mentors about them. Like, no, that seems like a hard time. Like, look, the company needs every single type of person here. We need that guy because he brings stuff to the table that you're not going to bring to the table. And so they come to into this job, and they do super well, honestly. Like time and time again, I don't know. The companies I've seen have people like that, and they're thriving. So
I think a big thing too is at least like having worked on the same team as you in the summer, a big thing was like teamwork, right? So having a team work together in sales engineering is just amazing. Let's say I'm the more technical one, you're the smooth talker, and you need help with a technical question. Like that's what your team's there for, right? Like that's what I would be there for. But then let's say I have to bring a couple clients out to lunch or out to dinner and we're working on the same project. That's kind of how you balance each other out. So I think that's one thing that I've learned, and probably that you've learned like way more than even I have, but there's so many different types of people that fit this role, right?
Yeah. And that's just I agree with you, Sydney. And that's just one of the things though, if you're not a smooth talker, you need to become good with your social skills. You need to make people comfortable. And if you can't build relationships, I'm not talking about making a great impression the first time or coming up with a clever comment. Like if you can build relationships that last, that's a skill you need. And so look in your personal life, do you have that? When you get to know people, how does it go? And most people are able to build when they're being true and authentic and they actually care about the other person, usually they're able to build pretty good relationships, even if you're not able to do the smooth talking thing.
No,
I remember speaking of this on the first episode we had another new sales engineer in the field, Benjamin Brahmi. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He was in chem eng at McGill, recently graduated. He told me that exactly what Sydney was telling me, that two people who might not have the same skills, who have actually opposite skills, can complete each other. But here's my question. Have you ever had that, or is that still too early at this stage of your career? Like, did you ever find yourself either giving advice on something technically to someone, or vice versa?
Yeah, well, in the training program, you work in teams a lot. And, in school, we give class presentations, we do technical stuff. You need to do high level thinking, you need to do detailed thinking. And I don't know, it's, schoolwork is tough because not everyone's equally motivated. But I'm sure you guys can think back to examples where you've benefited from someone being maybe more technically good than you, and maybe you helping, or someone being maybe, bigger high level thinker. Are you really focusing on the right area for this project? I think you're going down the wrong hole and we should maybe focus our efforts here. I think we all have experiences in our lives where we benefited from teaming up with somebody else who had that different perspective than us.
Oh, 1,000,000%. But I just feel like in the work and like in the field, I feel like that's just so much more broadened. Because like when you're working on a project for your major, even though, you might think differently, you might do X task or Y task differently, but you guys still get the same knowledge. You know what I mean? But if you're out there in the field and you're saying not everyone's an engineer there. So there must be like a much more diverse, like more diverse backgrounds per se. So does that differ from like the university level, or do you still feel like pretty close to that in your training program?
If I understand your question properly, there are different types of clients, right? that you have out there. You have the engineer who does want you to talk details, and you have contractors or building owners who are never going to get the level of detail that you're bringing up, but you need to talk to them on their level. It's your job. It's your job to make sure they understand. And so different people actually end up working better with certain groups than other groups. So some people in this business, it's a lot of engineers and contractors are our clients. Some people talk almost exclusively to engineers, and some people talk almost exclusively to contractors, others exclusively to owners. And lots of the time it's based on their personality, and how they think and how they speak matches well with those people. So I don't know if that answers your question, Hassan, or if you want me to go somewhere else with that.
It kind of does. It kind of does, actually. I just wanted a deeper insight on that for me. But yeah, it very much does.
So on that note of, okay, so let's say you're working on a project with someone and then you're dealing more with the engineer and someone else is dealing more with the contractor. How would that go about you guys getting paid?
Great question.
I think that's what it comes down to at the end, right?
Straight to the point, Sydney.
Yeah. How am I getting paid? Who's getting paid what?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a tough question. People fight over that, right? I don't have much experience in the office, but people have told me that that's a point of contention a lot of the time. I guess the things that are clear is if the outline is clear of how it's split. If this and this thing is accomplished on the engineer side, I get this percentage of the commission. If this and this thing is completed on the contractor side, you get this percentage of the commission. And so it's kind of like a recognition of how much were you responsible for the win. Okay. And that's how much you get paid. And people try and pull a blanket on their side, but you have to remember that these are relationships internally that you're going to have to bring forward and use. You're making a career, and I'm saying don't screw the customer. Don't screw people internally too. If everyone knows you're cheap when it comes to splitting commission, you always pull the blanket on your side. It's going to cost you a lot more than
no one's going to want to work with you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's a bit of that helps lubricate the gears on that one. We're like, this is not one job. This is like, we're colleagues. And so we need to come to an agreement where we're both happy with it, or else. And sometimes it doesn't work out. Right? So
it's a good mentality to have for sure.
Yeah, hence the sharpening your social skills that you were mentioning earlier.
Yeah.
The importance of that, honestly. No, but I totally get it. But okay, here's a question I have, a bit off topic.
Go ahead.
If I told you right now, name me one experience that you take from that mentorship program that you will remember the most, since it's almost over, what would that be? Like, what's a day? What's something that you experienced that you were like, I'll remember this for as long as I live, or for the next X years, Y years?
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty intense experience. They're working as hard over there. And so there's a lot of things that's happening like that. I guess one thing, the thing is intimidating. I'm going to pick one of the things, and we can hit on other ones if you want.
Go ahead. No, please. Yeah. Go ahead.
But like today, they were teaching us a lot about, we had a sales simulation that lasted 2.5 days. We're meeting with contractors, we're meeting with engineers, we're meeting with facility directors, and we're just trying to get information. We're trying to sell a job. It was kind of a cool experience. And at the end of this sales simulation, you meet with the CEO and you have to sell to the CEO. But the facilities director and the engineer are in the room. And one thing that was so powerful, I found, is that the CEO trusts his people, right? So when I was saying something and giving the pitch to the CEO, great, silver tongue, whatever, it sounded good. But then he turns to the engineer and he says, you've been working with him, you checked his stuff, is it right? And then since I had won over the engineer already before then, we were on the same page. He wanted this to go through. He thinks it's a good idea. He was pumping my tires. He was like, I looked it over. I think this is a great opportunity. I think it's a good price. I looked over, and then the CEO is like, great. That's all I need to hear. And then my next point, then you turn to the facilities director. Is that a good price? Yeah, it's actually under market. I think that's a great price for the value we're getting on this. And to realize that the connection I was building with other places was lending me credibility with, it wasn't about being an island and just being super good technically. This CEO trusts his people. He doesn't trust me. And so he's bringing these other people and I've built trust with them. So it's like a trust thing. It's like a moment where you're like, light bulb on. This would not have happened if these people didn't want me to be here. If they don't want me here, I'm going to lose this.
That's what you're saying about never burn your bridges, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's true that, if you want to be successful, you need to make it a win-win-win, right? You need everyone, you don't go over somebody, or you don't go behind someone's back to get the win because you say, hey, this guy's blocking me, I'm going to go around them. No, because at the end of the day, when you're standing in front of the CEO and the CEO turns to the guy and says, is what he's saying true? Because CEO doesn't have time to look through all the stuff. You have 10 minutes. He's going to hear your pitch. The other guy is the guy you spent all the time with. But he does have the time to build a relationship with his facilities director. And so he looks at him and he says, you're the man on point here. You tell me, is this a go or no go? And he's the guy who's going to decide it for you. And sometimes you can lose sales or accounts based on these people who you think are less important. They're not the main decision maker.
It's crazy. That's good. That's actually a really good takeaway from all of it.
I learned a lot from those people. I can't imagine what you must have.
Is that your main takeaway from university? There you go.
Don't burn bridges from university.
Don't burn bridges. That's actually really good advice, though. And I think you never know where the future is going to take you either, right? Like, for all you know, let's say you work at a company, one of your internships, for example. Now you're working at Trane. For all you know, you might be in contact with one of these people, or a classmate of yours is now an engineer and you have to deal with them. You might like come into contact with these people again in the future, right? So I think that's a really good takeaway for sure.
Well, and speaking of that, Sydney, the reason I even, one of the things that got me into the door at Trane was in my first year, they have that engineering help thing for the first year classes. There's some third or fourth year engineers that like sit in a classroom and they can tutor you, like the tutoring program.
Like EPTS?
Oh.
EPTS, exactly.
Okay,
That's the name of it.
EPTS.
So I went to EPTS for Cal Help, and the guy who was doing it was Hugo Saint-Amand.
No way.
Yeah. And then we started being buddies. He's like helping me out. Then we meet up at Blues Pub. We go out a few times, we had a good time. And then he's working there a year and a half. And he's like, hey, Erik, I saw him at Tech Fair. He's like, oh, Erik, I think you'd be great for this role. Like, let me recommend you. And then, it's the connections in your life, you don't know where it's going to come back. But, for me, it's been helping me out a lot. And you don't do it. The thing about business school and a lot of things, the reason I didn't go to business school, I think, is that I felt like people in there realize the power of that, but they do it fake. They schmooze with people they think are going to help them in the future, but they don't care about the person. They're not doing it because they want to have fun. They're not doing it because they like the person. They're interested. They're curious. They're doing it because like, I need to advance my relationships and network with these people. And that always felt like super fake and they leave a bad taste in my mouth. I feel like in engineering, we don't do that. Like, if we're hanging out, it's because we're friends, because I don't have time to waste with people I'm not having a good time with, And that's the way to that's real networking, in my opinion. That's how you get the next job. That's how you get the next sale.
I want to touch up a bit more on that business school thing. And just, I had a question pop into my mind right now. You said one of the first things you said when we started off this episode was, you said some people are made for doing masters. Mm-hmm. Do you think that you, like, down the line, there will be, for example, a certain master's that you want to get that you believe can help you in sales engineering, or you just want to focus on getting as much experience as you can? Because I'm thinking more of MBA, because like an MBA can help out, but you know more about the field than I do for sure. So what do you think?
That's one of the number one questions people ask when they get in this field is like, get an MBA or don't get an MBA? And I see a lot of people getting an MBA, and I see a lot of people not getting an MBA. And it's really up to you. It's going to give you some skills for sure. It's going to help you, especially if you want to go into management afterwards. But, what's your motivation for doing it? Is because you're checking boxes, you just want to write MBA after your name. Like, I know some people who are going to do it because they want to write MBA in their email signature. And I just don't think that's worth my time.
Yeah,
right?
definitely not with your time.
It's scary, but it's true.
Yeah.
A lot of people do that. Just write MBA after their name.
Yeah. And to tell people I got an MBA, or, they think it's going to help them because, I need this. But like, look, show up, perform, help people. And if your boss takes you aside one day and says, hey, Hassan, we want you for this next position, but we need you to have an MBA. And if that happens to me one day, I'll get the MBA, most likely. But I'm not going to get an MBA in anticipation that someone's going to give me a job over it, or that people are going to be impressed by it. Like, that's the way I view it.
No, that's a good attitude to have for sure.
And perfectly answers my question. Thank you.
Oh, well. Other people have a different answer, but that's the way I'm viewing it. And
No, I completely agree with your answer, actually. Yeah. Which solves a bit of my internal debate about messaging.
So no email signature.
No, it's just, you always debate with the future, because it's always tough to see what's happening in the future. But that answer really is, hearing it out loud is really opens up a lot of perspectives. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. And, I don't have a ton of successes to like stack up, but the way I've seen things is work hard and do what you think is worth your time and what you're passionate about and what's in front of you. It seems like people are worrying too much about what's not, too much about, I should be doing this. I should be doing internships. I should be studying harder. I should be doing this. I should be getting an MBA, instead of like, what do you want to do, man? Because there's going to be things you should be doing your whole life. And then in the end, the guy who just sat at OAP and hung out with his friends and enjoyed some beers, he had a great time. And guess what? All those people went to engineering firms, and he calls them up, and he has all these friends, and they want to do business with him because they're friends, and it goes easy, and he can help them out. And then the other guy said, no, I need to study. I need to be doing this. I need to be part of that club. And they miss out on the blues pub, and they miss out on the OAP, and they're not having fun, but they're saying, I'm sacrificing for the future. Well, that's not a guarantee. Like, you might be better off taking a pint with your friends.
I'll remember that when we can go back to campus.
Yeah.
No, I think that's...
I'll go back to campus. I'll go to a blues pub. My last blues pubs were stolen from me, so
True.
I need to get them back somehow.
So what I learned from what you just said is, go out and drink with your friends because it might get you a job one day.
Yeah. Be an alcoholic. That's the takeaway, I think. No, do it with your passion about. Some people love 3D printing. Some people love doing this, doing that. And if you're faking it, you're better off not doing it.
I think that's really good advice too. I only got my first internship after my third year of university, and that was always something that was so stressful for me. Like, I was always like, okay, but my friends have already had 2 internships and I'm starting my first, they're going their third or their second, and it stressed me out so much. But then I realized, like, everyone has their own pace too, right? And I was able to learn so much in my first internship. And I don't even know, some people leave their internship and they're like, yeah, I was just filing. Oh yeah, I was doing nothing. They didn't let me do anything. Yeah, I had one internship where I learned so much. So it's like you're saying, it's not even about, oh, okay, I'm going to study, I'm going to do this. Like, or for me, it wasn't like, I'm doing an internship, I'm doing this. Like, I just learned so much at that one opportunity that I could take forward. So I think it's really like counting your blessings when you have them and not being like stressed or, you know, just be grateful for like where you're at and where you're going.
Yeah, I agree with that, Sydney.
I have a question that I also wanted to ask. So I don't know if you know Himanshu. You know Himanshu?
Yeah, I know who met you.
So one of the things he told me when he in one of his interviews, they asked him if he had an Android or an iPhone, and he said an Android, and they told him on the spot, okay, sell me an iPhone. Did you ever get a type of question like that, like a sell me this pen question?
Um, yeah, I did get that, not at this company. And, you can kind of do that, but it's like, hey, it's not, I wasn't, for me, okay, so an interview is a two-way street. As new grads, we kind of feel like, hey, I need to impress, I need to impress, I need to impress. It's a one-way street. Do they want me? I want them to want me. But then I did have an experience for an internship where someone's like, hey, sell me this pen. And that was the other side of the interview where like, and it's not the only thing that happened in that moment, but the rest of the interview kind of was that flavor of like, he's like a kind of sell me your pen type of dude type of interview. I'm like, I don't want to work here. If that's what you think a good job is, this is what you think a salesperson's job is, if that's what you think I should be doing, maybe this isn't the right fit for me. And so I felt uncomfortable with that question, and I didn't, I did okay, but they called me back to say, you want to work here, please, we want you as an intern. And I'm like, no, I don't want to work for this place.
Because a lot of people be like, I'll just take whatever's given to me. Because they're so stressed about getting that job, getting that internship. They're like, okay, maybe the time's ticking and I have to accept it before it's too late. But yeah,
and
a lot of respect on that. Yeah,
it's true. But this was my third internship, right? So I had first
a little
year,
picky. You can be picky,
yeah. And I had a bad experience in my second year. I'm like, I do not want to choose. And in the end, I chose a terrible experience for my third internship as well. So who knows? Maybe the other one would have been better. Maybe I should have gone to sell me this pen place. But I had the confidence. And the thing is the choices you make, especially when you're talking about career, they're looking for talent, man, and they can't find it. And so if you come in, you're enthusiastic, you're sharp, you want to learn, you're excited to be there, it's them who should want you, And I don't know how COVID's changing that game, but when I graduated, there was more jobs than people. And we don't know much, so we kind of just accept whatever is given to us, but have a little confidence. You're graduating from McGill. You're able to have a conversation. You're a social person. Who cares about your grades? You probably had some great feedback about, you've done well in this. We're all excelling in our own right in different ways, and to see that value and not to think that you're lucky to have the job, but the other way around.
That's a really good way of looking at it. I'll remember you every time I walk into an interview. No.
Wow, that's a big compliment.
No, a lot of wise quotes from you today, Mr.
Well, I'm glad you feel that way.
Thank you. But just the last question I always like to ask before we wrap this up, because honestly, this conversation has been very fruitful and I've enjoyed it very much. But what tips or advice did you get from your coworkers or from people who are in the same field as you? And what advice would you give to the future students who are graduating or who either don't know what to do or considering sales engineering as a profession later on? What would you like to tell them?
Yeah, advice. That's a tough one. It's a good one though. I guess there's so much unknown, and you don't know what you don't. You know that you don't know anything. When you go to tech fair, I don't know if you guys have been, but you kind of feel like I don't know anything, and then you ask them a question, and they respond to you in some like weird jargon, and you're like, I don't even know what that means. You know?
1,000,000%.
And-
1,000,000%.
And you're just nodding. You're like,
yeah. And the secret is most of the time they don't even know what they mean. So it's so opaque, right? And I don't know how to clear that up, but try and talk to people like in your interviews, ask questions and see if you can talk to people who are actually working in the company and talk to them. They're not going to lie to you. If they don't like working there, it's going to come off loud and clear. And you won't be able to know all the details. I took a risk with this company. I didn't know everything, but talking with the people there, are the people happy to be there? Like, that's key, man, because if they're not happy to be there, you're likely not going to be happy to be there either. And so I guess, when you interview, do they have energy? Do they have passion? And maybe try and ask, can I speak to someone who's in the current role that you're hiring me for? And just have a regular conversation with those people. You don't even need to grill them. Just, are these type of people I would want to work with, And I don't know, maybe that's not, maybe there's better and more complete advice, but that's a little nugget maybe that I took with me in my interviews, and I think it served me well.
no, I think that's important because, like you said, I think it was way at the beginning of this, but you were saying how, okay, yeah, you could be selling something great or doing something great, but if you're working with people that you don't like working with, you go to work every day and you don't want to be there, that's going to reflect, especially in sales engineering, that's going to reflect in your work and your productivity and just like your energy and everything, right? Versus if you go to work, you're selling a product that you know a lot about, it's kind of interesting, but you work with people that are driven, that you want to be around, that just makes work that much better, right? So I think that that's a really good piece of advice to know what you're getting yourself into, right?
Yeah, I agree 100%, Sydney. And the way I view it is, if I'm not having fun at work, I'm not saying this has to be my passion, but if I'm not coming in laughing, joking around with people and having fun with what I'm doing, like, some people view work, as like something they have to do. And for some people, that's true. They need to make a living. They don't have skills that is in high demand, and they need to grab something that's going to pay the bills, and they just hope it's not bad. That's not our case. We're engineers. We got engineer degrees. There's so many options out there, and there are options you get to choose. And if you're not having fun, this is going to be the majority of your life. So you got to choose. Are you willing to have the majority of your life just suck and just be like a chore? Or you want to come in and have a good time? It's a bit risky, to go, am I going to have fun here? Like, that doesn't seem important,
Yeah.
Am I going to have fun? That's not in the top of my priority list. Well, what's the top of your priority list in your life? Is it having a good time? Is it being happy? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I know for me it is.
Yeah.
So.
Speaking a lot of sense, man. Honestly.
Well, I don't know. Maybe people are going to reread this, listen to this and like, oh, this point, that point.
No, but it's honest advice, right?
No, of course. It just, I don't know. It's just really genuine and very good advice, honestly. Thank you so much.
I appreciate that.
I can't thank you enough, man, honestly. Well, I lied, and that technically wasn't the last question before I wrapped it up. I want to know, if I ask you in 4 months to be my guest for another episode of Technically Speaking, would you be open to it or not?
Man, this was a great time. You guys were super easy to talk to. Personally, I like talking, as you guys can see. So
we love to hear you talking, my man.
Oh yeah, good response.
Learning from the smooth guy, I gotta say.
No, I'd be totally in for sure. Yeah, hit me up. I'd be more than happy to come on and talk more, and hopefully I'll have more experiences I can share with you guys, and you guys will have more experiences through this club, right? It's super cool that you guys did this club. I think you guys have a great initiative here, and first one in Canada. I can't believe that's true, but like, good on you guys for getting on that, and I'm impressed.
Main
Thank
thanks goes
you.
to Himanshu, honestly.
Yeah, it does. It
Without
does.
him, none of this would have been possible. I also said the same thing in the first episode, but honestly, I also can't thank this man enough, to be honest.
Give him a little shout out, you know?
Shout out name partner Himanshu. Well, anyways, I guess this is the end of episode 2 of Technically Speaking. So I can't wait to be back for more episodes. And Sydney, I can't wait to have Sydney with me for another episode sometime soon. I really enjoy it.
I'll be back soon. I'll be back.
Sure, I can't wait.
Thanks so much,
I
guys.
guess this is where we cut it.